Hey y'all, happy Sunday and welcome to this week's live Q&A session. This is the portion of the show where we allow YouTube to send out notifications that we're going live. If you're watching this live Q&A on replay, please scrub ahead until this graphic disappears and the actual show begins. If you're watching live and you have any comments or questions, please go ahead and put them in the live chat. But for now, grab a beverage, sit back, and relax while the countdown timer does its thing. Then we'll get started. Happy Sunday, everybody. Hope everybody is doing well. We're doing fine here in Southern Oregon. Hope everybody down in Southern California is braced for rough weather. It's going to be a wild one, I'm telling you. Things are calming down. It's starting to break up, but still looking at a lot of water coming in. So hope everybody has got their hatches battened down and their waders on. And I mean, just hang in there, baby. It's going to be something different. So, today I've got something a little bit different. Gonna try to get into something that I know a little bit about, but just enough to be dangerous. Before I do that, I wanted to say welcome aboard to, and I'm going to try not to butcher your name, to Doran Oster. Welcome aboard. Thank you for becoming a channel member. And Doran is going to be the topic of discussion this morning, or today rather, simply because he sent me an email and included a file that had an interesting situation to it. And I wanted to get into it a little bit. And I also need to correct myself. In our emails, I said something that was incorrect. And like I say, when it comes to nesting, I generally speaking don't nest parts and projects. But when it comes to nesting, I know just enough to make me dangerous. And so I have limited experience with it, but I did find the issue. I did find uh, uh, a way to fix the issue. And let me just go ahead and jump right into this. And if you have any questions at all about anything, whether it's something that I'm doing here on screen or if it's something to do with something else, by all means, please put it in the chat and we'll get to them in due course. But for right now, what we're looking at is Doran has this set of vectors that he wants to create a bunch of copies and then nest them. So there are a couple of things that we need to do. Now, evidently, this is going to be cut out of brass, and that's all well and good. We have our shape, and then we have a couple of, I'm assuming, mounting holes for the shape. Now, if I come over here into layers and I look, I can see layer 0. So that's telling me right off the bat that this was probably a DXF file that was imported into the software, because all DXF files have a layer 0. That's used by the CAD program it was drawn in. There is uh, very rarely any data that the Vectric software is going to read within layer 0. So we'll get back over here to the drawing tab. And at first, this confused me. Okay, it's Doran. All right. Or is it Doran? Well, I apologize. Butchering names is my thing. I do apologize. Uh, this one kind of mystified me because I could not get it to nest no matter what I did. So I tried something. I first selected it and went into node editing mode, and I saw all of these points. And that's typical for a DXF file. Very typical. Most, not all, but most CAD programs, the default is to draw in straight line segments. And when they do that, they have to put in all these points in order to get curves. Now, not all of them do it, but a good portion of them do. So I'll come out of node editing mode, and I'm just using the letter N on my keyboard. And I'm going to come over here and I'm going to simplify this using the curve fit tool. Before I do that, however, I'm going to go ahead and go into the nesting tool to show Doran my mistake in what I told him. My limited usage of the nesting tool was done after I created an array of objects. Once I had the number of shapes that I needed and had all of the vectors figured out, what I would do is I would group them, select them all, tap the letter G to group them, and that way this maintains the position of the holes when I go in to nest. And with a tool diameter of 1/8 of an inch, let's do a clearance gap of 50 thousandths. That'll give me a 0.13 space around the object. And I'll allow it to rotate to find the best fit. And we're going to nest along, let's nest along X here. And I'm going to remove the original parts, because what this is going to do, it's going to create copies. And we want to remove the originals. We don't want to have duplicates. And here's where I made the mistake, Doron. It will allow you to set the number of copies. So I'm going to just, for this demonstration, I'm going to select 10 copies. I'm going to apply that number, and you must hit apply. And then I'm going to preview. And it took away the shape. It took away that leaf shape and just gave me a bunch of holes. That was obviously an issue. So I'll cancel that. I'll ungroup them. And this is where I started my investigation. I got into node editing like I just showed. I found all those points, come out of node editing, and I'm going to go simplify by fitting Bezier curves to this shape. I'll fit Bezier curves. I'll click preview, and that reduced the number of points to just what? 2, 4, 6 points. Click OK. Now I'm going to select everything. I'm going to come over to nesting, and without making any other changes, I'll go ahead and go for 10 copies. Click apply, and you'll see the number 10 appears right here. Okay. Then, and you also see I have a dark outline around this. Okay. Remove original parts. I've applied the 10 copies. Now let's preview, and we can see that it has nested those parts. So your problem was a simple one, Doron. It was the fact that I don't know if it was the number of points. I don't know if it was reading an error in the vector. When you're nesting, it can be open or closed vectors, so that's not an issue. But once I simplified those vectors, it just wham. It just, everything worked perfectly. Now, this is just a preview. We're looking at this and we can see how many will fit. That's just 10. Let me reset the preview, and let's try 30 and see if 30 will fit on the piece of material. Click apply, and that 10 has changed to a 30. And we'll preview that. We can get more than that. Let's try for another 10. Reset. Let's go for 40. Apply. Preview. And might be able to get 1 or 2 more in there. Let's try 42. and see if that works. The worst that can happen is no, it won't let us. Apply, click preview. Yeah, it did go for 42. But you get my point. You can then change your criteria in here as to how it's going to nest these parts and come back in and play with this. Again, my initial experience with the nesting tool had been using it after I had already created the number of copies I needed. I've never tried to get as many out of a piece of material as I could. I always had a certain number of parts I needed and then just nested those to use the least amount of material possible. So using the individual part properties down here, that is new to me. An hour ago, I didn't know it existed. Let's try 44. Apply, preview, and yeah, it's still fitting them in. So once it is done, once we've got it all set up, we click OK, and there is our. Did it just? Oh no, it's not adding. It's adding sheets. That's what it's doing. So we're not able to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're not even able to get 44 on there. Let's select that and go back in. Let me undo that. Control Z. There we go. Let's go back to 40 and see if that's going to fit. Preview. Nope. We can get 39 out of a sheet. Okay. Reset preview. It created a new sheet by itself. 39, apply, preview. There we go. That's the most we can get. So we click OK, and boom. So now we're ready to, so now we're ready to go ahead and select them all and then start calculating toolpaths. So John Thompson is wondering, would tabs lessen the amount of copies? Yes, it would. Well, that would have to be factored in. And I'll get to your comment in just a second, Doron. That would have to be factored in when you get into, let's Control Z to undo the nesting. Yeah, come on. Get back to the original. Okay, there we go. Let me make sure where I am here. Okay, we've curve fit. We have it selected. We go into nesting. If you're going to use tabs, that would have to be figured into the clearance between the objects. So I have them set at 0.05. I'm using a 1/8 inch bit. If I was going to put tabs in to hold everything into place, I'd probably want to go with something, say, a 1/2 inch. So let's change that to 0.5. That's going to change the spacing. So it's also going to change the number of parts I can get out of a single piece. Okay. So let me back that down to 20 just for demonstration purposes here. Apply and then preview. And now I've got a 1/2 inch space in between each part. So now I can put tabs in here because I'm using a 1/8 inch diameter bit. Now I can put tabs in here and those tabs should keep it connected. Okay. So tabs is going to reduce the number of copies you'll be able to get on a sheet. or on a sheet of material, but mainly because you're going to have to space them further apart so that tab doesn't just break loose. And in this case, because it's brass, a 1/2 inch should be enough. But if it's not going to be enough, you'd need to make it, maybe 3/4 of an inch. Let's change that to 3/4 of an inch in preview. Yeah. So, and the larger the clearance and the larger the border gap, the fewer you're going to be able to get on one piece of material. So let's cancel this and go back here. And let me see where I'm at. I'll undo fit curves. Okay. To check, select the vector, tap the letter N on your keyboard for node editing. And that just shows you how many points there are. Tap the letter N again to come out of node editing. Then with that vector selected, come over here under Edit Objects, down to the 3rd row, the 3rd icon in. Curve fit. Fit curves to the selected vector. Okay. Click on that icon, and you can try circular arcs, you can try Bezier curves, or you can try straight lines. It's already straight lines. So we know that's not going to work. So I tend to use Bezier curves as a default. So I'll preview that, and it shows how many points that's going to convert to. I can try circular arcs and hit preview. That's a few more points. It'll still work, but I like it a little bit cleaner than that. I want to go for as few points as possible. So I'll go back to Bezier curves, preview, then click OK. Now, when I select it, I'll tap the letter N to go into node editing, and we can see that I have these 6 points that are Bezier curves. Okay. Okay, Duran says not working for me. Which part is not working? Is it the node editing? Is it the curve fit? Bob, I will get to your question in just a second. I want to get Duran's answer here first. And let's see here. I just need to know, Duran, which part is not working. Okay, you still have a zillion nodes after the B curve. All right, let me go back into it here. Okay, undo fit curve. All right, I got my vector selected. Go into the curve fit tool and go into Bezier curves. Now check the tolerance. Okay, I have my tolerance set at 10,000ths of an inch. Okay. Keep sharp corners is checked. Max angle of 60 degrees. And real important, replace selected vectors. If you don't put replace selected vectors, that's going to create a duplicate copy. You don't want that. You do not want duplicates at all. So try adjusting your tolerance to 0.01 and then preview, then OK. Now, that tolerance, let me go back into the curve fit tool. That tolerance is not a set it and forget it type of a thing. You can, you will probably want to adjust that for depending upon the project. Okay, you said your tolerance was 1 thou. There may be cases where you want that kind of a tolerance. So experiment, look at it. This is acceptable to me. Let me go with 0.8 and preview that. There may be cases where that's what I want. So, um, the choice is yours. There may be cases where you want a real tight tolerance. There may be cases where you want a real loose tolerance. Let's get silly here and use that tolerance. Okay, now we've got 3 points. So, it it just really depends on how tight you want this to be, you know? So we'll click OK and go with that. A.L. Peleg says, it's amazing how long it takes until you see the comments, Mark. You were still waiting for him to respond a long time after we saw his explanation. That's built into well, there's nothing we can do about that. That is latency. That is a lag. It's coming from StreamYard to YouTube, and that's about a 30-second delay. Then it comes from YouTube back to StreamYard, which is my broadcasting platform. That's another 30 seconds. Now that varies. It could be as little as 10 seconds. It could be as much as 30 seconds. But we're told here on the back end to expect a 30-second delay because it's got to go from one software to another software, then back to me. So that's just the nature of the beast. So let me see here. Let me go up and make sure that I've got all of these questions marked here so I can go back to them. And yeah, I've got all the questions marked. Now let me get into them. Let's get into the questions that have to do with this, with nesting and what have you. Bob Help the Bridle says, if you change the way the object is placed on the page, when you're talking about nesting, there is, let me go ahead and check this out here. There is right here, rotate parts to find the best fit. The rotation step angle of 10 degrees. What that means is if you watch, and let's change this up to, I'll just use 10 as an example. Make sure I'm removing the original parts. And I already messed up, so let's cancel this. I forgot I need to group these. So type G to group them. Now let's nest. Not changing anything else. I'll go with 10 parts. What it's going to do, this here, it's going to rotate the parts to find the best fit in 10-degree increments. So if I apply 10 copies, it's going to create 10 copies here, and I preview it, it does rotate the parts, but it does it in 10-degree increments. So if I switch this, let's reset the preview, and I switch this down to 5-degree increments, then apply and preview, it's going to find something a different way, but it's going to turn them in increments of 5 degrees. So it may rearrange them. If I were to take this, let's reset the preview, cancel it, and let's just go ahead and move this out here. Nope, straight across. and then 9, 9. All right, so we've got it sitting horizontal. Now we'll nest it, and I'll keep the same 10, apply, and rotate parts. And again, I'm rotating from this corner. I'm nesting from this corner along the X. Let's preview, and it still rotates them to what it thinks is the most efficient use of the material. So let's cancel that. And I'll Control Z to undo. And there we go. I hope that answers that, Bob. It decided it it decides what is the most efficient use, and that's just the increment that it will use to rotate the parts. So, okay, that's got the question. Okay. Let's see here. Thomas Grimm says, can Mach 3 do Bezier curves or only circular arcs? It can do Beziers. What does the G code for a Bezier curve look like? I have heard a lot about this, that, well, the software doesn't read Bezier curves. It only reads circular arcs. I've never had an issue. What does the G code look like for a Bezier curve? I've never gotten into it to see. I'm a home hobbyist. I'm not out to make 500 parts in a day. I can tell you I have never had an issue using Bezier curves over arcs in Mach 3 or Mach 4. There's never once been an issue. Machinists will tell me that there is an issue. I just have not experienced it. So I don't know if there is an issue with the software reading Bezier curves, just that I've never had one. Now, what I can do, because I've never had an issue, Thomas, what I'll do is I'll program, well, I'll do it off camera. I will draw a couple of circles and convert one to Bezier curves, and well, I'll draw a couple of different little simple drawings, and convert one to Bezier curves and another to circular arcs, then generate G code for them and compare. But that's going to take longer than the amount of time we have right now. I've never had an issue, though. And people will argue with me that, yes, I have had an issue. I just don't know it. All I know is tab A fits in slot B, and I've never had a problem with Mach 3 or Mach 4. And I used Mach 3 for the first 7 years, and I've only been using Mach 4 for a little over a year. But, you know. Thomas says, I've never had an issue either. I just know that G code does circular arcs as a native result. And yes, I've heard that as well. It's a case of, I don't know if the post processor changes something. I don't know if I don't know if Mach 3 changes something in there, or if it knows to deal with it. But I've never had an issue. But machinists will argue with me that, yes, I have. I just don't know it. I mean, if I'm getting, my opinion is this: production people have to think about time. They have to think about efficiency. And to a certain extent, they have to think about accuracy. If you're making something to a very tight tolerance, then yes, you have to be, I mean, spot on and focused. I'm doing woodworking out here. I don't even need 3-digit resolution, to be honest with you. 4-digit is way, way, way overkill. mainly because wood moves. And if I make a tab A to go into slot B and I've only got 2,000ths clearance, it's probably not going to fit because the moisture from the glue on tab A is going to swell it more than that 2,000ths. So, I do understand the situation where you have to have that. I just don't. I just don't need it. Ayal says, I don't think there's a G code for Bezier curves. I would assume the G code will have many movements. G code for arcs would be smaller if the target machine supports arcs. Yeah, that may be. That may very well be. And that's what I mean by I don't know if the post processor is doing something that I don't know it's doing. And I wouldn't be surprised that it is because I don't get into post processors. I've gotten into post processors more in the last month than I have in the previous 8 years. And then not much. So, because I'm still paranoid enough about post processors that I don't want to pop the hood and start tinkering. It runs, leave it alone, Todd H. CNC says reducing the number of points can make your machine cut smoother too. Yes, big time. And curves are smooth. They're not jagged, faceted things. You'll find that it, like Todd says, your machine isn't as jerky by reducing the number of points. So I hope that answers that. And Doran, I hope that answers your question, and I hope that helps you get that figured out. So let's see here. Rob Schuster, Sidewinder drums. Number one, let me say this. If you're not subscribed to Rob Schuster over there at Sidewinder Drums, number one, shame on you. Number two, get over there and do it. He's got some killer projects. One of my favorite creators on YouTube. So he's wondering, any experience with closed loop steppers hybrids? No. I fear the leverage from a 14-inch drum down to a small gear on a stepper could lose some steps. I really can't comment on that, Rob. I have zero experience with closed loop steppers. I'll be frank with you here. I don't know if the steppers. My lean-to door is still there. Whoa. I don't know if the steppers on the Avid are closed loop or not. I doubt it. But the only experience I have with them is plugging them in. I mean, when they say plug and play, they mean it. Even the ends on the cables are idiot proof. I'm proof of that. I mean, it'll only fit one direction. So I really can't comment on whether or not fear the leverage from a 14-inch drum down to a small gear on a stepper could lose some steps. I guess it's possible. I don't know how likely though. I mean, are you using cog belts with teeth on them, or are you just using a standard slick belt? I believe you're talking about on your drum, your rotary machine. And in which case belt slippage is a concern, but I think it would slip on your drum before it slipped on the wheel, on the cog of the stepper motor. But again, that's new territory for me. Steve, you are the man, the myth, the legend. There's a link to Rob's channel right there. If you are not subscribed, do so. He makes some very, very killer projects over there. His drums, oh man. Um, then if it's a geared timing pulley, I would venture to. Yeah, it's easy for me to say because I'm not the one spending the money. I would say just try it. If you don't have any issues, you might need to slow down your feed rate, but I don't know that it would lead to any kind of uh, issue. I'm having trouble trying to reconcile that in my brain. It shouldn't. Don't mean it won't, but now Todd is suggesting try servos. Um, More money, but they're smoother and stronger. Yeah, there is that. That's an option. But might be overthinking it. It is possible I have a solution in search of a problem. Welcome to my world. I'm glad to know I'm not the only one that does. Wow. I can overcomplicate a marble, Rob. So sorry I don't have an answer for you, but that it I have to say I don't know when I don't know. So let's see. Timothy Probst says, "What's the chances of making a video that gives us the sounds of bits that are running properly and bits that are outside of normal parameters? The problem is I don't know the difference." It's very difficult to do that, Tim. I have thought about that. I've been asked for it a lot. I have thought about it, and my issue is I have a philosophical problem with getting destructive just for the case, just on purpose, because you don't know what's going to happen when you push the parameters beyond what it's supposed to be. I have attempted to run this and with natural sound, and I've attempted to run this with, live sound, natural sound, and it's always distorted. There's always an issue. Maybe I'm not trying hard enough, or maybe I'm using the wrong microphones. But I will give that a shot. Basically put, if your router or spindle drops, even for a little bit, the tone, you might be going too fast. If you hear any kind of a, that's an issue. You're going too fast. And I know that's a crappy imitation, but that's the best I can do. I will try to get some audio. I'll shoot some video when I do my next project, which won't be long. I will try to get some audio of a normal sounding bit, but uh, don't expect one that's abnormal, you know, because I really don't want to break bits or risk damaging the machine. I don't think I could damage the machine, but I know my luck, and breaking bits are, yeah, bits aren't expensive or anything, but still, um, uh, you never know where a piece of bit's going to go. Let's see here. Sargon is saying, I changed computers and it's not scrolling the chat. Okay. There has been an issue today with YouTube. And I had this exact same issue when I was over on my friend John Cousins live stream earlier today. The chat was not moving. It was on YouTube, but it wasn't moving on StreamYard. About all I can say, Sargon, he got a hold of StreamYard's tech support. They told him a fix. I applied that fix, and so far it's working for me. I am looking at the YouTube side as well as the StreamYard side, and it's moving fine for me. If you clicked on this live stream and joined this live stream before I applied that change, you might need to just refresh your browser page. But basically, if you look down in the chat, down at the bottom, on some live streams, you'll see a little heart right there on the right in the corner of the first comment. I disabled that. That little heart has been causing the issue with some streaming platforms. So if you are still seeing that little heart there, refresh your browser. It shouldn't be there. Extreme Woodworker, yes. The problem with sound is that different woods sound differently at the same speed and feed rate. A dramatic difference between mahogany and bloodwood. Yes, there's a dramatic difference between, say, walnut and pine. So it's going to be a little bit different no matter what kind of material you're running. Todd H. CNC says, I like this idea, but everybody's routers are different and machine rigidity is different also. Yes, absolutely. AL says, I would guess the size and shape of the stock would also impact the sound. It could. It could. Maple plywood is going to sound different from solid maple. And a larger piece is going to have probably a little bit more resonance than a smaller piece. How you have it mounted is going to be a factor as well. If you have it screwed down to the bed, it's going to sound different than if you're using clamps, you know. So it's a little bit different. So there really isn't a perfect answer for it, I guess is what I'm getting at. Basically put, if it doesn't sound right, it's not, you know. And the number one thing to do is either slow down your feed rate or increase your spindle or router RPM if you can do either one of those on the fly. Another thing you can do is cut a little bit shallower, you know. Check your pass depth and see how deep you're cutting per pass. You know, deeper cuts may require a slower feed rate, which will require maybe a higher spindle RPM. So RB Woodwork says very good imitation, sounded just like my machine at times. Yeah, if you're getting a high pitched squeal or something doesn't sound right, and that's what chatter is, where the bit is trying to force its way through and it's kind of vibrating. So if you hear any kind of a you know, you're trying to push it too fast. So Kurt H says, hi Mark, what's the best way to center an object between two other objects? Say like two stars diagonal to each other, and I want to put an oval centered between them. Well, there are a couple of ways. I would tend to use guidelines. By the way, you can get rid of that heart thing with installing block element to your browser. Quick Google search will get you there. There is that, but it doesn't help things on my end. I just disable it and it's not a factor. So it's more than just you seeing it. It's that it's there and it's interfering with the communication between YouTube and StreamYard. So, and more than just StreamYard, OBS is having an issue with it too. So, but let's get back to about the oval between two stars. Let's put you back here, and we'll draw a star. Let's make it a five-pointed star. Let's do here, and I'm just going to put them put it in a random place. Okay, and they're two different sizes. So this is what I mean when I say I would use guidelines. Let's say you want an oval right in here somewhere. Okay. And let's do a guideline. Okay. Now, what I did, right click, go to guidelines, insert angled guide. Okay. Now we've got the menu that pops open here, the form pops open, and you can either set an angle if you know the angle, or you can go through 2 points. Okay. And when I click go through 2 points, I'm going to come right here and I'm going to click and I'm going to make my other point right there. Yeah, it's probably not a good, no, that's not a good angle. That's not a good angle. Let's escape and try it again. Guidelines, insert angle through 2 points. Let's go from here to here. There we go. Okay. Now I'm going to come over here and guideline, insert angled through 2 points here and here. Okay. Go back to regular drawing mode. Now I'm going to measure the distance between them. I'll start right here on that guideline. Go to right there on that guideline, and that distance, 19.02. That's where I would center my oval on that point, on that center point. It's not really tangent either. I didn't go very tangent on that. Now let's try something else here. Let's go somewhere along here and just go anywhere on that guide, and let's try to get it. There we go. Now we've got, are we got a right angle here? Yeah, there we are. That is 18.06, so 9.03. So, this is not a good method. This is not a good method. Let me get rid of those guides. Let me think on this for just a second. See, machined in wood, make a rectangle around the 2 stars, center the oval to it. We'll see. Why not just draw a line between the centers of the 2 stars and use the midpoint of the line you just center your, yeah. That would not work if they're significantly different in size. Draw a line between the 2 stars and center the circle to the middle of the line. Yeah, you could do that. In fact, let's go ahead and let's do that. Now, again, I placed these randomly, so we're not going to have a even number. Let's say we want to go, let's go here and here. End my line, close that, draw oval. I want to center the oval. Let's come along the line there and find there's the midpoint. And I'm going to drag it out this way. And then size it. I want to go, let's say, how big is this? All right. 6 inches wide and 10 inches long. Click apply. close. Then I want to turn it 45 degrees. I'll just tap the number 9. There we go. Then I can delete that line. Actually, that's better, Vince. You're absolutely right. I draw a line from center to center. Select the oval and then center on that. So you're absolutely right. Let me do that. That was a better place to start. So we find the center, and now we'll find the center. Spacebar to accept that line. Close that. Select, move and transform. And now let's find the center. There we are. Boom. So yeah, it does. AL, delete that line here and come back over. It depends on the definition of in the middle. I would expect the spacing to be equal and not actually have the center on in the middle. Yeah, it just depends on where you're putting it. It also depends on the angle. And are they the same size? So all of those center methods would fail if the stars are significantly different sizes. But the center is going to be the center, no matter what. The center of the star is the center of the star. So while if I come over here and I measure, let's say from here to here is 2.45, from here, tangent again, yeah, it is going to be a little bit different. It is going to be different. So I would have to pick an area that's, point to point. Especially if you wanted it tangent to this plane right here. Let me get rid of that, close that. If you want it start right here and move up to right there, you can see these are not, the stars are not tangent to one another. So let's spacebar and Control Z. So there's a lot of room to play around in there. Let's see, space selection inside last vector, use both directions. Okay, so you're talking about using the rectangle. Okay. And Rob is on point here. This is where I was going to go next. At a certain point, it comes down to where it is like kerning. Your eyes need to decide what centered looks like. Absolutely. Now, the software may say that's centered, but you may say that looks odd. Select the oval, then both stars. Oops, wrong. Select the oval, then both stars, then use the centering tool. I assume that you mean this one here. Center objects on the last selected object. So it's going to try to center these two on the last selected object. See? So now, yes, you could draw a rectangle around these. No, not job setup, Mark. Rectangle. There you go. Zip back in here. And let's see, you'd need to find, no, I don't want to use that one. Yeah, you'd need to find a place where you were tangent to both. Go here. Don't click. Now let's try this again. Here and here. All I'm doing is holding the cursor over the tip so that it activates both of those tip points. And then I found my spot. Now click and drag that rectangle until it's out to that tip there and then come down to that tip there. Now, some would say that's centered. So, again, there are many, many, many. Ultimately, Rob is right. It comes down to what looks best to you. This may or may not be right on center, but if it looks good, it's good enough. Russell Faraday says, move it around until the eyes like it. Yeah. Alignment tool, space selection. Where are you seeing that? Let's go to the alignment tool. Space selection, inside last vector. Oh, okay, I get it. I see what you're getting at. Yes. Okay. Boom, boom, and we'll go vertical or horizontal and vertical. Okay, now there we go. That's what he was trying to tell me. We just centered that in X and in Y according to the alignment tool. Does it look like it's in the center? I don't know. Let's draw a line here. Let's go from this corner to, looks like about that corner. That doesn't look right. That doesn't look right. That looks almost right. That's closer. But that right there is the angle where it is centered. So again, it's all down to what your eye. Please make the left star bigger. Okay. What is it now? It's 9x8. Let's make it, link XY is good. Let's make it 12. Okay. All right. Now let me select, select this one. Hold down Shift, select this one, come back over here. I keep forgetting that these are here. And we'll go that way and that way. And again, it moved it. But you see, it doesn't look like it's centered. The software says it's centered simply because this is larger and this is smaller. Now, from here to here that may be the center of that distance, but it's not between here and here. Why am I not looking at the line that connects the centers of the stars? I'll look at the line that's connecting the centers of the stars. Boom, there's the center there, and there's the center there. And as we can see, using that, using the alignment tool, it's nowhere near the center. So it depends, as Al said earlier, it depends on what you consider the center to be. There it is at the center of that line, but it's closer here than it is over there. See? So there may have to be some give and take on this to make what's most pleasing to the eye. And what's most pleasing to the eye may be off center mathematically, but we need to move this a little closer. The distance from here to here and the distance from here to here is a little bit more even. But again, it's not centered on that line. So that was a nice distraction. There are going to be some cases, and this doesn't matter um, if it's 3D modeling, if it's 2D vectors like this, or text or spacing or something like that. Um, a lot of times it's going to come down to what looks right to you. You know, there may not be a right or wrong answer. And what looks good to you may not look good to me, and what looks good to me may not look good to you. So, Brooks Martin, isn't there a way to display the bounding box for each star? Uh, well, it depends on what tool you're using, but to what end? Let's look at resize here. Jabalon box, scale item. No, that's not going to do it. No, you know what? I don't know that there is. Let me look here. Hold down shift and let's look at. Let's go to the bounding boxes. Scale items individually. No, it's not going to show the bounding box. There are some tools that will show you the bounding box. But again, I don't know. Just because the software says it's centered doesn't necessarily mean it looks good. You know? So that's my opinion. Let's see if we have another question here. No, keep going. Keep doing it, Brooks, because that's how I double check myself. Because, well, case in point, when I was emailing with Doran, because of my limited experience with one tool, I gave him a wrong answer and led him astray. Well, I got to be able to check it, and I got to be able to come in and at least admit that I could be wrong, you know? And I am quite often. Ask my wife. She'll tell you. Let's see here. I would guess most pleasing it would be based on the following: line connecting the star centers, 4 lines perpendicular to it and tangent to each star, both sides of the ellipse. Not only that, but let's talk about the size of the project. What other vectors are surrounding the project? Is this one small element? Is this the main feature? Does it conflict with other design elements? There's all kinds of things, you know. There are all kinds of considerations, but again, a lot of times it's going to come back down to what looks good. It's kind of like Rob Schuster said. It's kind of like kerning. I can't tell you a number of the. I can't give you a measurement that would tell you the correct amount of space to be between each letter, because every font is different. Every text project is different. Is it on a curve? Is it a straight line? Is it something that you have distorted and starts out real short and gets wider as it goes out? I mean, all of those situations are going to change spacing, and they're going to make it visually more appealing or unpleasant. So you'll have to go in and adjust for what looks better than what the software says this is the center, or this is where it should be. Well, that may not look right. So Russell's nailed it. Good kerning goes unnoticed. Yes, that's the whole point of kerning, is to make it look like you didn't do anything. It is all the same mindset as kerning. Alas, I see a lot of examples of poor kerning. Yes. So, uh, can an array be copied around a shape, like small stars around a shape? Yes. Yes, it can. let's play with that here and bring you back in. Let's get rid of you. Delete. Let's get rid of you. And we'll draw a circle. And we'll put it in the center and bring it out to about like so. Don't know how big that is. Now I'm going to reduce the size of this. Shift from the center. Boom. And I'm going to drag this down to, oh, there. Okay. Now, let's see. Do I want to? I don't want to copy along. Do I want to copy along? Can I space it? No, I can't space it. Let's just do a circular array then. No. How do I want to do this? There's a couple of ways of doing it. Well, one is I can, okay, let's do it this way. Let's get some numbers here. Let's not just play around. Okay, I've got a 17-inch diameter circle. And how big is my star? My star is 3.025. Well, for the width, for the height, 2.87. I'm going to make my height 3 inches. 3.05. Okay. Now I want to put the center of this star 2 inches around this one, 2 inches away. Or, yeah. So I'll just, that was 17 inches. Yes, it is. I could offset this, but I just come along and make a bigger, another bigger one. Create. Where did I put that? No, not 119 inches. Control Z. Make it. There we go. All right, now I'm going to, oh no, that was a mistake. Oh, come on, Mark, wake up. 21 inches. That's what we want. I want to go 2 inches on both sides, basically. Boom, there we go. Yay. All right. Now, drag my star down. Looks good so far. Now, I want to take my star, hold down Shift, select my vector. Copy along vectors. I'm going to copy the object. I'm not going to copy the circles. I'm going to, let's see, do I want to do the number of copies or do I want to put a distance between copies? I think what I'll do is number of copies, yeah, I'll go with 12. Line objects to the curve, copy. There you go. Now we got a duplicate here. I should have, I didn't uncheck, did I? Nope, there is no option. That's okay. Now I will delete my originals and there's my copies. Yep. I predict a discussion about how the word around is not defined in the same manner that middle is not good enough. And you're right. Yeah. Around an object, if you notice, all of these are rotated to where this point is pointing directly, and each one of these stars is turned. Well, you may not want that. So Control Z, Control Z. Oops, let's make sure I'm in this program here. Control Z. Nope. Select. Shift. Select. Copy circles. Align objects to curve. Uncheck. Let's copy. There we go. Close. And then delete. But by unchecking align objects to curve, those stars all stayed oriented the same way, upright. They're not rotated to match that that circle. How about around a star? Well, we're going to have to, I'm going to have to cop out and say, experiment, try it yourself. But basically, I'm way over time here. And I can play around all day. Trust me, I have. Ask anybody. Experiment. You can align it to other vectors or something like that. Just I'll play around with it, and maybe we'll do an unfinished business next week. It depends on if I have my video ready or not, or maybe I'll do a short. So Steve says, thank you. I was thinking about around a fancy letter, but I can play with it. For something like that, Steve, I would draw a shape around that letter and then have it follow that shape, then delete the shape. You know, there's more than one way to skin a cat. So, boy, I'm way over time. Thank you very much for joining me. Let's go ahead and wrap this up. Again, I would like to thank Doron Oster for becoming a channel member. Channel members, remember tomorrow at 5:30 Pacific, 8:30 Eastern is the members only live stream. Check the community tab here on my YouTube channel for a link to the live stream. And I hope to see everybody here tomorrow, or everybody, all my members there tomorrow. I'm going to try to have the video on the lean-to posted next weekend. As you can see, that's one of the doors to the lean-to. The other one's over here facing me. I finally got everything painted. I've got to shoot a little bit of video while I have the doors off and I got access to it, to show the inside and where everything is plumbed and how my dust collector got plumbed and everything else. But that'll take me 5 minutes. Then I got to edit the whole thing. So it should be, look for a lean-to video next week. Knock on wood. Already said channel members, the live stream tomorrow. If you don't know what I'm talking about, or you'd like information on how to become a channel member, click that join button right about down here, right in there, and click the join button. Panel will pop up, video will play, tell you all about channel membership, and I hope to see you tomorrow. Other than that, as typical on Sundays now, when my live stream ends, you'll be automatically forwarded over to my buddy John Cousins, who is currently running his own live stream. I'll be over there in just a minute. And till next week, y'all take care. Everybody down in SoCal, hold on. Make sure everything's in the house so it don't blow away. And hunker down and hold on. And here's hoping that we all ride this out. So thank you very much, and have a great rest of your week.